Pleased to call this hearing to order. Today we welcome EPA Administrator Michael Regan back to our committee to discuss the President's fiscal year 2025 budget proposal for the Environmental Protection Agency. As my colleagues will attest, I oftentimes say that budgets are about priorities, and they are. I believe that the President's budget prioritizes a vision for the future of our nation in which every American can enjoy the health and economic benefits of cleaner air and land as well as cleaner water. The President's $11 billion budget request for EPA represents a 20% increase over the amount Congress approved for fiscal year 2024. That may seem like a significant increase, and I agree that it is. But make no mistake, after years of funding cuts and freezes, the agency needs additional investments if it is to better protect the health and well-being of our constituents across America. Those of us who care about the future of our planet, and I believe that's every one of us, want an EPA that has the resources that it needs to take common sense steps to combat the greatest threat that we face today on our planet, and that's our climate crisis. Nearly every day we see the signs of a planet in crisis: wildfires ravaging our lands, polluted air filling our lungs, extreme heat gripping many of our communities, and much, much more. Scientists here and around the world have repeatedly sounded the alarm. They say we're running out of time to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and slow climate change for the health of our planet and our people. In 2023 alone, the United States experienced 28 climate disasters. Let me say that again. In 2023 alone, the United States experienced 28 climate disasters. I have a friend, you ask him how he's doing, he says, compared to what? So we'll just say, well, compared to what? For comparison, the U.S. experienced only 7 climate disasters in 2013. Only 7 in 2013. In 10 years, the number of climate disasters has literally quadrupled. And on top of that, the 28 disasters that our country experienced last year in 2023 cost American taxpayers a boatload, a total of $93 billion. That's billion dollars with a B. And to put that figure into perspective, it's more than 8 times the size of EPA's proposed budget for 2025. Fortunately, the President's proposed budget would enable EPA to continue its work to address the climate crisis and reduce greenhouse gas emissions, all while protecting public health and supporting economic growth. Now, how might that be accomplished, one might ask? That's a good question. First, the President's budget request would provide the agency funding it needs to continue to implement the historic investments made by Congress over the last few years, including the passage of the bipartisan infrastructure law, which was literally crafted in this room, as well as the Inflation Reduction Act. Through the passage of those laws, Congress has directed EPA to do more than ever before in order to tackle climate change, address pollution, protect our communities, and grow our economy. Thanks to these laws, we have empowered EPA to help build a clean energy economy that is creating millions of jobs across America and lowering our unemployment rate to near record lows, while also lowering energy and health costs for households throughout America. Just last month, Administrator Regan announced the awardees that will distribute some $27 billion for clean energy projects through the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. And as you may recall, a number of our colleagues on this committee worked hard to create this program in the Inflation Reduction Act. The Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund is going to fund national networks of community financial institutions that will finance climate and clean energy projects across America, particularly in low-income and disadvantaged communities. Thanks to the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, homeowners throughout America will be able to make repairs and investments in order to make their homes more energy efficient, and business owners will have access to the financing that they need should they choose to decarbonize their buildings or install solar panels, just to name a few examples. And through the bipartisan infrastructure law, we invested in EPA's work to clean up legacy pollution from contaminated brownfields and Superfund sites, as well as to improve solid waste management and recycling programs while addressing lead and PFAS in our drinking water. Just one of many examples, last year, Standard Chlorine Superfund site in northern Delaware received $1 million from the bipartisan infrastructure law to remove hazardous chemicals from that site and protect public health. There's many, many more examples like that across the country. I look forward to continue to work with you. We look forward to continuing to work with you, Administrator Regan, to support EPA's implementation of these critical laws, which will benefit our communities for decades to come. Beyond its implementation of the bipartisan infrastructure law and the Inflation Reduction Act, EPA has also been busy acting, as you know, to develop and finalize rules informed by cutting-edge scientific research to remove dangerous pollutants from the water that we drink and the air that we breathe. EPA's new climate and clean air regulations will result in billions of dollars in climate and public health benefits across our country, all while encouraging America's innovation to help industry meet stronger standards on reasonable timelines. And by releasing new rules to implement laws like the Toxic Substance Control Act, the Superfund Law, and the Safe Drinking Water Act, EPA is addressing some of the most pressing environmental public hazards that America faces. And I would add that I think each of those laws that I just mentioned really had their beginning genesis right here in this room. The President's budget will support the agency's continued work to implement these rules to benefit our health, our planet, and our economy. Administrator Regan, I started off by saying you have a tough job. I think we all have tough jobs, but they're also really important jobs. And I think we are headed, for the most part, in the right direction, thanks in no small part to your leadership at EPA during an especially challenging time in our nation's history. We look forward to your testimony today. We welcome you. Before we hear from you, I want to hear from our ranking member, Senator Capito, for her opening remarks. Senator Capito.